Good morning, student. In this lecture, we start the last chapter or first chapter from your syllabus, FACS devices. So, full form of the FACS device is flexible AC transmission system. So, first we go through the definition of FACS device. So, flexible AC transmission system is a new integrated concept based on the power electronic switching converters and dynamic controllers to enhance the system utilization and power transfer capability as well as the stability, security, reliability and power quality of the AC interconnected power system. So if I say that in a short word, in a simple way, I can say that the FACS devices is a device based on the power electronics converter which is used to enhance the system utilization, power system utilization, as well as that is used to improve or enhance the power transfer capacity, as well as they used to maintain the system stability, security, reliability, and power quality of the AC system. So that is the definition of FACS, flexible AC transmission system. Now go to the introduction. What we have learned in this chapter. So FACS, they are generally a new device that is used for improve the transmission system. FACS is a static device because we use the power electronics converters. So there is no moving part. So FACS device is called as a static equipment or static device used for the AC transmission of electrical energy. It is generally a power electronic based device because we use the power electronic converters. It is used to enhance the controllability and increase the power transfer capability of the transmission system. So main concept of using the FACS device is that to control the power as well as to increase the power transfer capability of the transmission line. So what are the benefits of using these FACS devices? So go through this one by one, all these benefit of the FACS devices. So first benefit is that the regulation of power flow in the prescribed transmission line. It means that we can maintain the power flow control through the transmission line using the FACS devices. Second benefit is that reduce the need for construction of the new transmission line, capacitors and reactors. So know that one of the benefits of the FACS device that increase the power transfer capability. So previously erected transmission line that is designed for particular load. Suppose in future if the load demand will increases, so by using the FACS devices we can increase the power transfer capability so that we not need to erect the new transmission line, capacitor or reactor. So that is one of the benefits of FACS device, that there is no need of the new extra transmission line to provide the power to the new node in the futures. Another advantage that they provide the greater ability to transfer the power between the control area. So this is another benefit that provide the control power between the two area. By using the FACS devices, we can control the power transfer from one area to another area. Then this devices helps to damp the power oscillation that could damage the equipment. So what is the power oscillation? So generally the power oscillation happens because of some type of fault happens in the transmission line. So if the damping of the power or oscillation of this power, if we cannot damp out in a short period of time, then it may be possible that the damage the system equipment like transformer as well as generators. Clear? So to damp out this power oscillation, we require the FACS devices. So this is another benefit of using the FACS devices. So there are another benefits that they improve the transient stability of the system. So I hope you understand, you know that what is the transient stability. So the definition of transient stability is that the ability of the system after a sudden large disturbance, that power system is regain its previous condition or near to the previous condition. So that is called as a transient stability. So FACS devices helps the transmission system to maintain its transient stability or to improve the transient stability. Another benefit is that they control the real and reactive power flow in the line independently. So real reactive power flow in the transmission line, that is also controlled by the FEX devices. Then last benefit, that the damping of oscillation which can be threaten the security or limit the usable line capacity. So as I told you previously that any type of oscillation happens because of any fault and that threaten the security of the power system. So that threaten because of the oscillation, that is mitigated by using the FEX devices by damping the oscillations. So these are the benefits of using the FEX device in the power system. Now we understand that why we require the FEX devices. So that is required for the better utilization of the existing transmission system. Because nowadays without the FEX devices we cannot fully utilize the existing transmission system. We cannot transmit the full power as per the rated capacity of the transmission line without its FEX devices. So better utilization of the existing transmission system, that is the first priority of using the FEX devices. Second is increase the transmission system reliability and availability. Then increase the quality of supply, increase the power quality of the supply for the sensitive loads like industrial loads. Most of the loads are the inductive in nature, they require the quality power, so that for mitigation of flicker, frequency variation, voltage sag, voltage swell, for all this type of the power quality related problems, we require the FEX devices. So for all sensitive loads we need the FEX devices to improve the power quality. And last benefit, that the environmental benefit, because as I told you that by using the FEX devices we not need to erect the new transmission line if in future the load demand will increase. So ultimately that is benefit economical point of view as well as that is economical that is benefit in terms of environmental point of view also, because there is no need of to cut the trees throughout the transmission line which are placed. So there is no need to utilize there is no need to erect the new transmission line, so there is no requirement of the extra land to the utility. So these are the benefits, the environmental point of view as well as economical point of view. Now we understand the basic types of the FEX controller based on the connections. So basically there are 4 types of FEX controller based on the connection. First one is series controller because it is connected in series with the transmission line. Second is the shunt controller because it is connected in shunt with the transmission line. Third one is combined series controller, and fourth one is series shunt controllers. So based on the connection there are 4 categories: series shunt, series and series shunt controller. Now we understand the basic idea about all these different classification of the FEX controller. So first we understand about the series controller. So what is series controller? So series controller that is used to provide the variable impedance like a variable capacitive impedance or variable inductive impedance, or this is a power electronic based variable source of main frequency, subsynchronous or harmonic frequency to serve the desired needs. So it means that the series controller are the controller which is provide the variable impedance like variable capacitive impedance, variable inductive impedance based on the power electronics converters at a different frequency like main frequency, subsynchronous frequency or a harmonic frequency, that depend upon the need of the power system. Then how this series controller works? So series controller that inject the voltage in series with the line, and if this injected voltage in phase quadrature with the current, it means if the voltage injected voltage is 90-degree lead or lag behind the current, then this controller supplies or consumes the reactive power. So depending upon the lagging and leading of this voltage with respect to current, this series controller consumes, or we can say they absorb the reactive power or supplies the reactive power. Okay. Suppose if the voltage is lag behind the current, it means that current is lead the voltage. At that time, this controller supplies the reactive power. If exactly opposite, then they absorb the reactive power. It means when current is lag behind the voltage, at that time, this controller absorbs the reactive power from the system. As we know that in the power system, most of the load are inductive in nature, so always current is lag behind the voltage, and because of that we require the extra reactive power. So that reactive power is provided by this series controller by injecting the voltage in series with the line. Clear? So that is a first series type of the FACS controller. Main aim is to use the series controller is to inject the voltage. By injecting the voltage in series with the line, they provide the compensation of the reactive power, absorption or supplying of the reactive power. Second FACS controller is a shunt controller. Same way series controller, it is a variable impedance like capacity or inductive, or it is a power electronic based variable source or combination of both. So you can see in the single line diagram here that is connected in shunt with the transmission line. This is a transmission line. This is a bus, and at the middle of the bus, the shunt controller is connected, and that is work as a variable impedance or maybe a variable reactor type of the power electronic based variable source. So main function of the shunt controller is that they inject the current in the system. Series controller, they inject the voltage. Shunt controller inject the current into the system. Here, if the current is in phase quadrature with the voltage, then controller supply or consume the reactive power. Same like a series controller, if current is lag behind the voltage, then it means that they absorb the reactive power. And if current leads the voltage, it means that they inject the reactive power. Then combined series controller. So you can see that here two series controller are connected with the transmission line. This is a one transmission line. This is a second transmission line. So both the converter are connected. Both the controller are connected in series with the line, and both are connected with the common DC link. Clear? So that's why this combination is called as a combined series controller. So generally this type of combination is used in the parallel transmission line. So it may be this could be a combination of separate series controller or maybe a combination of this. So if series controller combine, then it is called as a unified controller, or sometimes this controller are separately used as a series controller. Now the series controller that supplies the reactive power for each line and real power among the line via the power link. So you can see that here this series controller that supplies the reactive power for the each line and then real power among the line via the power link. So real power, you can see that here, that is transferred through this DC link, and reactive power that is transferred through this transmission line of each series controller. Interline power flow controller that is used to balance the real and reactive power flow in the line. So this is called as the interline power flow controller, because here the DC link is connected with both the series controller. So this is called as a interline power flow controller. So that is used to balance the real and reactive power flow in the line. Next is the series shunt controller. So it is a combination of separate series and shunt controller, or is a combination of both. So it is called as a unified power flow controller. So you can see in the single line diagram here, one controller connected in series. So this is a series controller, and one controller is connected as a shunt with the line. So this is a shunt controller, and the combination of this series and shunt, that is called as a unified power flow controller. Or you can separately use the series controller as well as shunt controller, and you can see that the DC link of both the controller are connected. So it is a common DC power link of both the series and shunt controller. So through this DC power link, both this controller exchange its real power. Suppose this controller requires the real power, so that is provided by this controller, and sometimes suppose this controller requires the active power or DC power, then at that time this controller is provided. Now, how it works? So, series shunt controller that inject the current into the system with shunt controller and voltage in series with the line using the series controller. Yeah. So, this provides the function of both series as well as shunt controller. So, that's why it is called as a unified power flow controller, and in short it is called as a UPFC. And when this controller are unified, and it means when both the controller works, the exchange of real power between the series and shunt controller, that is via the power link. It means through this DC power link. When both are work combinedly or unifiedly. Now, the question is that at which time which FACS controller we require. There are 4 different types: series, shunt, series, and series shunt. So out of these 4 controller, which controller requires in particular time at particular place. So the choice of controller, we have first identify at which time we require the which controller. So series controller controls the current power flow by controlling the driving voltage and transmission line impedance. So series controller, you know that inject the voltage in series with the line. So by injecting the voltage in series with the line, by controlling the voltage of the line, they control the current as well as power flow of the transmission line, as well as by controlling the impedance of the transmission line, they control the current as well as power flow in the line. Because series and shunt controller both are the variable source of impedance. It may be a capacitive impedance or it may be a inductive impedance. So suppose we provide the variable capacitive impedance in series with the line as a series controller, so you can increase the power transfer capability of the line. Okay. So based on the series controller, it may be impedance, it may be capacitive impedance type or capacitive inductive type. You can control the power flow through the transmission line as well as you can control the current. Now next is to control the current and power flow as well as to damp the oscillation. You know what is the oscillation, why oscillation happens? Oscillation is generally happens because of the sudden fault happen in the system. So this power oscillation, if you not damp out, then they severely damage your system. So FACS device is the one of the device which is used to damp this oscillation. So if you want to control the current, power flow as well as to damp the oscillation, series controller is a more powerful FACS device as compared to the shunt controller. We will discuss in detail in the next lecture why series controller is more powerful than shunt controller if we're talking about particularly for the damping of the oscillations. So now you just remember that for damp out the oscillation, series controller is more effective as compared to the shunt controller. Shunt controller, as we know that they inject the current in the line. So that's why it is used for more effective voltage control and to damp the voltage oscillation. So shunt controller is generally required for the voltage control at the load bus, because at the load bus continuously load is changing, so voltage also continuously changes. So to maintain the voltage near to the rated value or exactly at the 1 per unit, we require the shunt controller for the effective voltage control as well as to damp the voltage oscillation. So particularly for voltage oscillation, we generally use the shunt controller. But for the power oscillation, to damp the power oscillation, series controller is more effective compared to the shunt controller. Now, same way, by injecting the voltage by the series controller in series with the line, that improves the voltage profile. So not only the shunt controller that improve the voltage profile, but series controller also by injecting the voltage in series with the line, that improve the voltage profile throughout the line. But the shunt controller is more effective to improve the voltage profile at the substation bus or at the load bus. Series controller should bypass the short circuit current and handle the dynamic overload condition, because series controller are connected in series with the line. So suppose when short circuit happens in the line, so this short circuit current may damage the transformer as well as the transmission line. So to avoid this, series controller should bypass this short circuit current as well as the handle the dynamic overload conditions, because whatever the overload condition happens, whatever the amount of current is flowing through the transmission line, that current is flowing through the series controller, because series controller are connected in series with the line. So this current, like short circuit current as well as in overload condition, the current is controlled by this series controller. Now, basically in this controller, like series controller, shunt controller, basically we use the GTO, which is called as a gate turn off devices, for DC to AC converters, to exchange the active and reactive power with the AC line. Normally the devices or converter we use as a FACS devices, that basically are the inverter, because who inject the reactive power or absorb the reactive power, we require the proper amount of the reactive power control. So for that particularly we use the voltage source converter for the FACS devices, and for that they require the energy storage, because the DC power is not available. This is a AC transmission system, and this is a basically works as an inverter. So inverter requires the DC supply. So DC supply they get from the storage. So this FACS controller requires a storage device. So you can see in this figure, this is a series controller, this is a storage device. So as a capacitor we can also use the capacitor we can use the storage device for the FACS controller. Now next topic is the control of reactive power and voltage. So one of the objective of the FACS device is to control the reactive power as well as to control the voltage. So both are interdependently to each other. To control of the voltage, we require the control of the reactive power. So for the efficient and reliable operation of the power system, we require the proper reactive power and voltage control. So this is one of the main objective or control objective of the any of the FACS device, that to efficient and reliable operation of the power system, maintain the or provide the sufficient amount of the reactive power and maintain the proper amount of the voltage. So generally the voltage at the terminal of all the equipments are within the acceptable limits, because all the equipments are designed for a particular rated voltage. So in the system or at the customer side equipment, voltage at the terminal side of the equipment, that must be within the acceptable limits. So both the utility as well as customer equipment, as I told you, both are designed based on both are designed to operate at a certain voltage rating. Suppose at customer side single phase load, all the equipments are designed for 230 volt rated capacity or plus or minus 5% of 230 volt. If this voltage is deviated out of this boundary, then what will happen? It may be possible that your equipment may be damaged. So to avoid this type of problem, you must provide the voltage within the limit. So for this prolonged operation outside this allowable range, that could damage the equipment. So to maintain the voltage at the terminal side within the limit, we require the sufficient amount of the reactive power to make the voltage support, because voltage magnitude at the terminal side, that depend upon the amount of reactive power requirement at the terminal. So if the reactive power requirement at the load terminal or the equipment terminal is not sufficient, then your voltage at the terminal is violated within the boundary, out of this boundary limit. Suppose if I take the example that suppose your inductive load is suddenly increases, what will happen? Your voltage suddenly goes down. Because if your system is not provide the sufficient amount of the reactive power, then your voltage at the terminal side will collapse. So to provide the voltage control, to provide the sufficient amount of the voltage at the highly inductive load, you need to provide the sufficient amount of the reactive power support. Then and then you can maintain the voltage near to the rated value. Second is the system stability is a satisfactory. So voltage level and reactive power control have a significant impact on the stability. So I think all of you know the what is the stability of the power system. So to maintain the stability of the power system, voltage level and reactive power control is a very important in the power system. Without these two control, we cannot maintain the power system stability. So this is another objective to use the FACS device, maintain the stability of the power system. Reactive power flow is minimized so as to reduce the I square R and I square R losses to a minimum. So when we require the reactive power to maintain the voltage level at the terminals, but if we not provide the sufficient amount of reactive power, then what will happen? That increase the I square R and I square R losses. So not only just providing the reactive power for the voltage support, but to provide the sufficient amount of the reactive power so that we can reduce the losses also and ensure that we operate the transmission system efficiently. Because as loss will increases, then automatically efficiency of the transmission system will increases. Next topic is production and absorption of the reactive power. So there are many devices in the power system that are used for the production of the reactive power, as well as they are used absorption of the reactive power. So one of the main source of production and absorption of the reactive power, that is nothing but a synchronous generator. So synchronous generator is nothing but your generator. It may be any type of generator. So all generators are able to generate as well as absorb the reactive power. Here Q means reactive power. So all the generators are able to generate as well as absorb the reactive power depending on the excitation. So how much excitation you have provided to the generator, based on that they generate or absorb the reactive power. But all the generator has its capability limit, like field current limit as well as armature current limit. So above this limit, the generator will not able to provide the reactive power. So once the generator provides the reactive power up to its capacity, after that you not get the reactive support from the synchronous generator. Then after you need the FACS devices to provide the reactive support. So the primary source of the voltage support means for the voltage control, that is provided by the synchronous generator. So by controlling the excitation of the generator, you can provide or absorb the required amount of the reactive power and maintain the voltage support. But once the generator limit is reached, after that you cannot absorb or inject the reactive power. So at that time you need the FACS device. So first source of reactive power is the source or absorption of the or source or sink of the reactive power is nothing but a synchronous generator. Then second source is the overhead line. So at a load below the natural loading or below the surge impedance loading, the overhead transmission line is also produce the reactive power. Same way at the load above the surge impedance loading, that absorb the reactive power. Yeah. So surge impedance loading is the characteristic impedance. Above that, above the surge impedance loading, overhead line, that is act as a sink of reactive power or that absorb the reactive power, and below the surge impedance loading, that is act as a source of reactive power. It means that produce the reactive power. Then third one is the underground cables. Underground cables has a high surge impedance loading because of the high capacitance. So always loaded below the surge impedance loading. That's why they generate the reactive power. So underground cables generally is the source of reactive power. Then transformer, next source of reactive power is the transformer. So this is a sink of reactive power because that absorbs the reactive power because of the shunt magnetizing reactance and series leakage inductance of the transformer. If you know the electrical equivalent circuit of the transformer, then you know that we draw the shunt magnetizing reactance as well as we draw the series leakage inductance. So both the reactance, leakage inductance as well as the reactance, both are require the reactive powers. So the transformer is a sink of reactive power because of shunt magnetizing reactance and series leakage inductance. Then another is the load. So typically at the load bus, this is a composed of large number of devices. Many devices are connected. Some of are the resistive load, some of are the more inductive load. So composite characteristics are normally such that they absorb the reactive power because most of the nature of the loads are inductive in nature. Same like industrial loads are more inductive nature because large motors are connected like induction motors, DC motor. So all the rotating machines, all the motors are the inductive loads. So in industrial loads, usually a shunt capacitor is required to improve the power factor and to maintain the voltage at the load terminal. Because industrial loads are more reactive in nature, so sometimes utilities not provide the sufficient amount of the reactive power. So the power factor at the load side will reduces. So sometimes utility penalize the industry for deterioration of the power factor of the system. So generally industries are using the shunt capacitor to improve the power factor, or we can say that to maintain the voltage level at the terminal of the load. As the power flow condition vary, the reactive power requirement of the transmission network is vary. So that is the obvious case. As the power flow condition is vary, as the load condition is vary, the reactive power requirement of the transmission network is also vary. As we know that Q cannot be transmitted over the long distance, it is transmitted over the short distance, but reactive power cannot be transmitted over the long distance because of large losses like as I square R and I square X losses. We cannot transmit the reactive power over a long distance. The voltage control is effected using special device like dispersed throughout the system. So it means that the voltage control is provided by using the special devices that is called as a FACS devices. Generally we use the FACS devices in the transmission system to maintain or to improve the voltage control in the transmission line. Now next lecture we understand the method of voltage control, how to provide the voltage control in the transmission line. First we understand the conventional method of providing the voltage control, then after we understand that how the FACS devices are used to provide